Hello, everyone. This is the Morgan Millennial Minute with Alexander Horat. The show is brought to you by David Morgan of themorganreport.com. Today, we're going to be having an independent millennial researcher on the show. His name is Scott. Hello, Scott. Thank you for being on the show.
Hey, Alex. It's nice to see everybody.
Yeah, that's great.
Talk to everybody.
Yeah. So one thing that I was looking at recently that I found that was pretty interesting, I'll share the screen for everybody so everybody can see it, was this right here. So in 1964, the minimum wage was 5 silver quarters, and it was $1.25. And today in 2021, we see that the minimum wage is now $7.25. So the minimum wage in 1964 was actually worth more because the quarters had a melt value of $25 today. So what are your thoughts on this? How does this pertain to millennials?
Well, they're diluting the currency, so they are actually winning in the end, because it's nominal confusion where, just because a number is higher, people equate it to the fact they think they're getting paid more, but you're not, because what they've done is they've actually diluted the dollar. So in real terms, you're getting paid less for your labor, and you're also getting taxed more. So you're losing two ways. Not only are they diluting the dollars, so you think you're getting paid more because a lot of people will say, like, I used to make $5 an hour, back in 1970 or 1980. But yeah, like back then, your $5 had much more purchasing power, like thousands of percent more purchasing power, right? So
Right.
Although you're getting paid $14 an hour now, your dollar doesn't go as far. You can't buy as much stuff. You can't buy as many goods or services with your dollar. So you're not any richer than people that were getting paid $5 an hour back in 1970. You're actually less well off.
Yeah, definitely. So basically what this is doing, you're saying, is that the cost of living is going up for millennials today, and this is really harming the new generation because they can't afford certain
Well,
things.
you're getting it from both. You're getting it from both ways. Your cost of living is going up, your dollar's getting devalued, and your taxes are going up. So you're actually getting pinched three different ways, all at the same time. And all three are growing and getting worse. So
Yeah. So it's really a scary thing because, back in 1964, you could actually support yourself and maybe another person with the minimum wage. But now with the minimum wage, you can support yourself or live in, not as good conditions. So that brings me to a really important point I want to ask you is, how can millennials guard themselves against this price inflation?
Well, the best way is you have to hold hard physical assets. It's the best way to defend yourself, because there's very few outlets you have to defend yourself. And that within itself is a problem too, right? I think the best way to defend yourself is like anything that has hard physical asset, like an asset will retain its value, because what's valuable there is the actual, what you're holding. That's where the value is. And they can't devalue that, right? Because like they can't print gold, they can't print I know George was saying he bought a Ford truck. Like if you bought a truck, they can't, well, I guess they're making trucks, but they can't print, old quality trucks that were actually well built. Like any metal, they can't print copper either, right? So dollars, they can print more dollars. um yeah, it's, I wouldn't want to be in the dollar, I know that, so that will not protect yourself from anything.
Right, because so
um,
basically inflation is a tax. Every time the government inflates the money supply, we're taxed basically. Is that right?
yeah, and another thing would be land, but that's if you can actually own the land, because in Canada, it's another scary thing where the Queen actually owns, like, I think it's like 90% of our land. So you're just buying like yeah, you're buying the rights to live on the land, I guess. Like, you got to really, like, because if everything did go horrible, technically the Queen still owns a lot of that land. So
Huh,
it's just, it doesn't.
you raise a really good point because that is true. We have to pay property taxes on all our land in the United States also, and Canada too. So do you see that as an advantage for gold and silver where you don't have to pay a tax once you own it?
Yeah, so I believe in gold and silver for many different reasons. Um, One, if you listen to Mike Maloney's Secrets of Money, it's the only thing that actually has a store of wealth, right? All of these currencies, they don't have a store of wealth, and that's proven with all of this inflation, and it's going to continue to prove itself that they don't have a store of wealth. And another thing is, like, that gold and silver are actually decentralized, right? Because if you have gold and silver and you're the only person that knows where it is, um, like, I see it will eventually become black market currency, because the governments they're not going to want people to commerce with silver or gold. So what they're going to eventually do with it, I don't know, but I would see it becoming a black market currency, and people will accept it as money because it's been money forever, and no one in their right mind is going to ever turn down gold or silver for anything. So it's true money. And they've even done studies, and they bring kids that were 5 years old and less, okay, and they put a gold coin on a table, they put a monopoly bill, they put a US Federal Reserve note, they put a bunch of different things on the table, and the kid immediately, a 5-year-old kid immediately, they asked him, are all of these things the same? And, or, do you see any difference between any of these things? And the 5-year-old kid immediately points at the gold coin and says, that one is different. That one's different than all of the other ones. So it's human instinct embedded in us, and a lot of people don't even realize that. Human instinct knows gold and silver is money, even as young, under 5 years old. So it's actually a crazy thing to realize.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I believe that's right. And you were talking about how gold and silver is decentralized. So now we see the federal government of the United States is planning on making a centralized digital currency. So I want to bring up this article really quick from Zero Hedge. Kitco, and here it is right here. What to watch as Fed ramps up exploration of a digital dollar. So basically, what they're planning to do, the federal government of the United States, is to do what China's doing. They want to start some sort of digital currency like the Chinese has done. And I wanted to ask what you thought about that.
Well, so these people, they're smart enough to know they need to create an exit strategy before, in my opinion, the dollar is on a downward trajectory right now, which means it's it's seeing its final days. And I know a lot of people, when you say that, they don't want to believe it, but it's just the reality of the situation, right? You can't continue to devalue a fiat currency forever. Eventually it sees its final days, and I think we're really close to that. Like, I'd I'm not going to put a day on it, but we're in the final days of the current fiat paper currency that exists today. So what, and Bank of Canada actually has announced a digital dollar too.
Hmm.
And same with China, like you said. So what they're doing is they're trying to create an exit outlet, and they're going to use it to their advantage. It's not going to be to your advantage ever. It's going to be to their advantage because they make the rules and you just are forced to follow them, right? So I mean, they're going to create it's an exit strategy that they're going to utilize. They're just kind of hinting at it right now, but they're going to ramp it up. You're going to see more and more articles about this stuff. I was even watching the other day, and there's like 52 bank institutes that converted over $1 trillion within the past like 6 business days, 7 business days, like 1.5 trillion they've converted from USD federal notes. And these are liabilities on a bank's balance sheet, right? This is the people's money, like people's deposits in the bank institutes, and they converted over 1.5 trillion to the Fed for T-bonds. And I know George was even talking about this. And then you pull up the Federal Reserve balance sheet, and it's just flatlined. So, it leads me the question, where did that 1.5 trillion that these 52 banks sent the Federal Reserve even go? Because it's not on their balance sheet. And then you also have, I think Janet Yellen actually admitted the Federal Reserve has a secret balance sheet that we can't see. They have a balance sheet we can see, and they have a balance sheet that we're not allowed to see. So they just had $1.5 trillion from bank institutes, which is liabilities on the bank's balance sheet, go into the secret Federal Reserve balance sheet. And no one even noticed it. I don't even see any, like, I know George was talking about it, but so they're hiding inflation in, the Federal Reserve is hiding inflation in a secret balance sheet they're not allowing us to see. So
Oh wow, that seems really scary. And actually, that's they're really inflating, as I can see, because there was actually Joe Biden. He wants to have a $6 trillion budget that's going to raise federal spending to the highest level since post World War II. So, how do you think this? Do you think inflation is just going to skyrocket because of this new spending bill Joe Biden wants to put in?
I think it should. Okay. I think we've already should have seen massive inflation. You are seeing it in California in fuel prices right now. But like they kind of have control of what can be inflated and what can't, because like I would just said, they have a secret balance sheet we aren't even allowed to see, so they can kind of hide a lot of stuff on that, like a lot of like I just proved they hid 1.5 trillion of inflation in that balance sheet. And I mean, so they also have control of what can get inflated and what can't. But like eventually all the eggs come to roost. And what's happened in history with fiat currencies is reckless, out of control spending is usually what loses countries reserve currency status. So when you see them spending like this, they're going to eventually lose reserve currency status. And that will be when it really hits America, because then they don't have as many privileges as they used to have. And um,
Right.
that's when you will probably see hyperinflation, is when they don't have reserve currency status any longer.
So basically, what we're going to be seeing is a massive wealth transfer within the United States, because people who are saving, millennials who are saving, older people, just any people in general in America, if there's hyperinflation, they're going to lose all their wealth. Is that's what's going to happen potentially, you think?
Well, there was even Dan on Twitter made a tweet where last year was the biggest transfer of wealth in history. Over $4 trillion went from middle and lower class to the upper, 0.1, 0.2% of the world. So they stole $4 trillion out of the middle class and funneled it up to the top just last year in 2020. And I think 2021 is going to be worse. So it's already 4 trillion plus. I think it was like 4.7 trillion in 2020. Was, I would call it theft. It was robbed from the middle class and lower class, working class people, and they funneled it up the food chain to, the people that already have more money than they would ever spend in their lifetime. So, I mean, why do those people need even more? I don't know. I guess they're never really satisfied. So,
yeah, definitely. We're definitely seeing a massive wealth gap in America. And basically, I'm kind of thinking, and I want to see if you agree with this whole new digital dollar thing that they want to implement is basically just a way to tax everything, right? Because at least with regular fiat, with regular fiat dollars, they can't tax it necessarily, but with digital, they can just tax it, however they want, right?
Yeah, so they spend recklessly and take advantage of us. In my opinion, do a poor job of running the country, and then they raise taxes and make us pay for it. So, in the private sector, if you don't do a good job, you get fired, and that's reality. And these guys have been doing a poor job, really poor job, and they just raise taxes, and it's like they have a golden ticket, right? They can't do anything wrong, so in their opinion, right? But they also make the rules, so that like without a doubt taxes are going up, and people like to believe, oh, like the government has never had your back ever. Have taxes ever went down? So
Not, I mean, not that I can remember ever. I think it's really what they just want to increase their own money most of the time. And I found another thing pretty interesting, and I want to see your take on it. So here's a survey, shows that 10.8% of the American population owns gold and around 11% owns silver. So we're only seeing, about 10% of the population that owns gold and silver. So it seems like a lot of people will be wiped out with this inflation, because they don't own precious metals. Do you agree with this?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I think most of that 11% is in India and China too, Asia, and mostly Asian countries, Taiwan too. But
yeah,
a lot of Americans, they don't own gold and silver. It's like the North, even Canada, North, like the Western societies. We actually, I would be curious to see what percentage of that 11% we are. It's probably like 1%.
So. Well, no, that was 11. that was 11% for Americans, but I do agree with you though.
All Americans.
I do agree with you that
Oh, I
Asians.
thought that was a global percentage.
No, that was the national percentage for the United States, but I do agree though that other countries like
Oh, okay.
India, for instance, they own a lot more gold. Their people, China's shipping in tons of gold and silver each year. So I definitely agree with your statement on that. So do you think other countries are
Yeah.
trying to prepare for something big that's going to happen like China? We see them buying up gold and silver, every year at huge rates. So what do you think they're preparing for?
I mean, if you follow the money, follow the money. Russia, what did they buy? Or Russia is ditching the T-bonds and federal anything associated with the Federal Reserve, and they're buying gold now for their reserve. Hungary did the same. Hungary followed Russia. Hungary put all of their reserves in gold as well. I seen Taiwan, I think yesterday, bought like 4 tons of gold. Taiwan. China has been buying gold since the beginning of time. Like China's been buying gold every year for the past, I don't know, 20 years. And I don't know, there was one more. Or Poland, yeah. Poland, I think last year bought like 100 tons, and this year, oh, they're buying hundreds of tons of gold, hundreds of tons. Wow. So if you look around the country, and someone else will be next. Here's the thing too, a lot of them don't want to spill the beans until they have their gold too, right? So they only announce it after they've bought it because they don't want to announce it before they buy it, because they want to pay cheap prices, right? So yeah, that's also why you see these news articles that are saying gold will never hit $1,900 ever until 2023 or 2024. And then they put out an article like that, and then the next day they're going to buy more gold, because they're doing that purposely so they can get cheap gold, right?
Yeah,
because gold just broke through $1,900 yesterday. So all of those articles that said a gold will never break through $1,900, it did yesterday. Gold broke through $1,900 yesterday. So
yeah, we see big banks, like JP Morgan and others do this all the time. They say, oh, gold is a bad buy, but then they go around, buying as much gold as they can. So it just seems like you're right. They just want to try to keep the price low so they can buy up all the gold. So I definitely agree with you on that statement. And it was really, thank you for answering all my questions that I had. And I really thank you for doing this interview with me, Scott.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. And thank you all for watching. God bless.